G'day punters, welcome to the deep dive, powered by puntingform.com.au's sectional data. We're going to deep dive Eagle Farm with Shane Shirley. Then we're going to move and just quickly touch on Randwick. I'm not going to go into Randwick in too much detail. Then we'll look at Flemington and we'll finish off at Belmont. This is also made possible by betfair.com.au. We'll be talking about the late betting and where the big betting races were. Anything else that's brought to you by? No, that is it. Shane, Peter, how are you, boys?
All good here, thanks, mate. Yeah.
Crystal?
I'm very good. It's been a positive weekend, and that's about all I have to say because I'm not positive for COVID.
But the wheel's turning as far as the gropers are concerned, which again is not a reference to some kind of fondling. It's a reference to the Western Australian sort of groper. But the wheel's turning, Peter, yeah?
Yeah, we got nailed. We traded $1.03 with She's God to You after taking a good price early. So, yeah, it was good. could have had it winning, though.
Shane, big week for you. Like a stack of meetings. How'd you pull up from them? And any lessons learnt in handling them all? Because it's a unique situation, I guess. Like you've got so many betting opportunities. It's just trying to identify which ones are worthwhile, I guess.
Yeah, it was a long week. I suppose, like I mentioned last week, there was sort of the calendar's back to some type of normality in Queensland. So the races or the meetings that we're betting into sort of condensed into Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and pretty full on. I think it's, look, I'm not too disappointed. Obviously, the results were a bit sickening. I don't know if I've had that many seconds since I've started the service over a wagering week, but there was a lot of them. I suppose just to try and be patient and not force them and try not to get too great up. Yesterday was a classic example. We were on a horse early at $2.50 that SP'd $1.70 and hit the front at the 50-metre pole. And the leaders kicked back and beat us. And then in the last race, we've taken $2.30. Better horse that I thought would start in the red, and it's drifted to $3.30, and it's won comfortably after getting held up for 1,250 metres of a 1,300 metre race. So those little things can grow you up, particularly after a long weekend's wagering. But yeah, the bets are okay. The results are up and down.
I think some of the feedback I've gotten from Shane's stuff over the weekend is we've started to handle like the workload for Shane. We've built the punting form worksheet, so you'll get his speed maps, his prices, and some comments for each and every race at the Eagle Farm card on the weekend. And some of like your loyal guys really appreciating sort of more of an insight. So I think it's a really good tool for anyone out there who rates Shane and wants to sort of take their punting to the next level. It's a really good insight into how he's working and how he's operating. So that'll be for each and every metro meeting in Queensland on the Saturday. Let's look at Eagle Farm. Where do we want to start? Broken Arrows has clocked the fastest last 6, 4 and 2 of the day in winning race 1. He'd want to, or she'd want to, because they went 10.2 below the all average to the 600. So they've flown home off the slowest tempo of the day to the 600. The biggest figure of the day was just Jammy Lady in race 9, ahead of Elixir in race 3. Elixir's performance probably more impressive the way I read data. But what are your thoughts, Shane?
You'd probably start with the first. We had something on For My Annie thinking would get a soft lead and might give him something to catch. It certainly got the soft lead. Had some question marks around Garibaldi's ability / will to win, and just thought that Broken Arrows would sit sort of last and not be able to get over the top of those two, and it just left them standing. It was a pretty good performance. Thought the track played fair throughout the day, and sort of pretty comfortable to sort of think that after the first race when a horse can come from last off the soft tempo, and the second horse was still out in the centre of the track, and the winner come from last and went past it. So that played. I thought from the start that horses were going to get its chance. Mentioned Elixir there. He was a horse that we were on last start and didn't follow up. It's managed to get a good ride from Huxtable, burst through and put them away, which was not a bad effort. So what we're starting to see here at these Metro meetings now, we're starting to see some consistency of these horses racing against each other. We've got one more meeting next week at the Sunshine Coast, which has a couple of listed races on the card, and I think that'll be the end of, seeing, these better horses that have been up for a while during our sort of tempered winter carnival campaign. So these horses now, we'll start to see them pretty regularly. Probably a couple out of that meeting, out of that race, particularly that Elixir race that punters could keep their eye on. A Cargay, it went around at $55 on the fair, but it's a horse that likes Eagle Farm, and it ran well. I thought it ran well first up. And another horse out of that same race, Rosie Posey, another horse that ran well. And I think, it also went around at big odds. I think there are a couple of horses that you could keep in mind out of that race. The other race that you mentioned.
Plenty?
Yeah. Look, it's
Ex-Waller.
Yeah, I think it had 1-3 on the trot before Saturday in similar type class. Just being able to sort of sit back off decent tempos and win. Stu Kendrick's done a good job with these tried horses. He had a couple of these that fit this profile, and Plenty was a bit of a nonny, I think, when Waller had it, and it's come up here, and I think he strung 3 on the trot.
It used to be a really, really nice parader. I remember backing it. I'm sure it raced at Moonee Valley. Let me just... Yeah, it did. Yeah. Yep. $4.40 and $7 and ran second and third, so I was on both times in a maiden. Yeah.
It's won 2 Saturday races up here since. So, yeah, look, it's like, once again, it's sort of met, that's a horse that sort of met its mark now. It's one that's, a few on the trot through its grades, and now it sort of, gets this consistent. It'll be around the money, this level. But yeah, he's had his last couple of runs in benchmark 85s, and just finished 3 lengths off him, where he's won through his grades at 75 level in Metros. So a little bit harder grade. He's maybe on his mark. I'm not sure where to from here for a horse like him.
What do you make of Eagle Farm is being renovated again?
Well, I've seen that on Twitter. A 10-week hiatus and putting more sand on. It's hard to get anything out of the BRC. They don't sort of let a lot out when it comes to that sort of news. It's pretty much propaganda comes out of there, especially on the track. Look, it's I don't know. Like, I thought Saturday's played as good as it has. They upgraded the track prior to race 1.
They fanned out every race, didn't they? Like, you weren't sure where to look.
They're still talking about, it's firm and that sort of thing. And look, I don't know. I've given up. I'm certainly not a green thumb, and it's just so hard.
We all know that at the mailbag. You find yourself a gardener. So
it's just so hard to read.
It must be hard to sort of, well, particularly at the moment in Queensland. One of the things I sort of feel sorry for you about is the changing, sort of the play's changing all the time for you. You've got all these trainers in the shit, all these stables in the shit, which as a pro, affects. It's going to have an effect, and then it's hard to figure out the effect, but you want to keep betting. Now we've got a track that you're starting to get a handle on. They're probably going to change this track again, and that's one of the 2 big tracks up there. So it must be hard to sort of just get that nice. There's nothing better, in my opinion, as a pro, than just like that good rhythm. Like, it'll happen in spring where you just build a profile on horses, you build a really good profile on tracks, and you move to Flemington and then back to the Valley, and that horse will improve at the Valley because you know how the Valley's going to race, etc. And you're sort of losing a little bit of that with the constant changing of the sort of the play for you up there.
Yeah, and there's a stark contrast also between Eagle Farm and Doomben. So you've got Doomben, you can, a drawing Doomben track's always hard to make ground. For example, Eagle Farm's been difficult to get a consistent pattern, and now that felt like we've started to sort of put a few meetings together where you can sort of start, relying on that track data, that historical track data, and now another renovation comes up. So I've probably got to check to make sure that's going to be confirmed, but I did read it on social media about a 10-week renovation.
Oh, I saw that as well.
So if you throw a 10-week renovation into our current programming, well, does that mean 10 meetings in a row at Doomben on a Saturday, or are we going to see a meeting at the Sunny Coast or or the Gold Coast? So all those things definitely definitely make it difficult to get patterns. And you touched on about trainers being in the shit and that sort of thing. I had a bit of feedback from a few friends of the show about that I might have been leaning towards a few conspiracy theories last week, talking about a few.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, because Jonathan Walsh has tipped, I reckon, like easily in my memory, the best he's ever tipped in his life on the mailbag. And this is fresh off the Alien doco binge that he's been on. He tipped these the card just about a minute ago at Flemington on Saturday. So I think if you're looking at conspiracy theories, you're questioning reality, you're looking a little bit deeper, and it has a positive effect on your form analysis, and therefore you're betting.
Look, I'll put it. I'm going to put it out there anyway. I marked in a few of the systems that I use from puntingform.com. I marked the date. I marked the date that RaceNet came out with that explosive article about Robert Heathcote calling everyone a cheat, and pre-race drenching of horses is prevalent in rampant, I think the words were. So, I do run the ruler across results since the date of that article being published, and that's just, that's, I don't know, call that. I'm trying to think outside the square a little bit, I suppose, to see some looking for
the hardest worker
or
in
inconsistency,
the room, which is why you get the results.
Another thing I noticed on Saturday, and this is not a conspiracy theory, but this is just something that you should take notice of big stables. And I've seen some money for the Waller runners on Saturday. There was a few good goes and a few horses that were backed, and you've got to respect the stable. They seem to be presenting these horses on these bit better days, I suppose, for this black type. I touched on it the other week, and we've seen it. Fiestas ran second. There was solid money for it. It was only when I'm saying solid money, it was $19 into sort of $13, $15, but it was stayed solid on the fair as well.
Oh, I think this is a great point, because you'll hear people talk, and it's utter noise in my opinion. You guys give your own opinions here, but they'll say, "Oh, the horse went from $20 to $18 or $20 to $15," and then someone will say, "Oh, that only means it's like a 2.5% increase in its chance of winning." It's just utter shit. The horse, it's just constantly, there's a big market there trying to bet here. So if the horse isn't a $20 chance, it'll drift. And if it is, it'll firm. And there's a lot more merit in saying 2% than if a horse is real steady or just trims into 19, 18. Yeah. Because everyone's trying to push that out or push that in. And there's a tipping point in every market. So I think you're spot on. The horse doesn't have to hemorrhage at that price to be respected.
And, it's just something to take note of. Like in the race before, the results mightn't have reflected it, but a couple of horses that I had marked substantially longer in the market from the while ago was Gresham. He doesn't win out of turn. It was, it halved its
8.50 at 9 a.m. into 4.50.
Yeah, it was still $9 at 1:30 in the afternoon, and it's halved its quote late in the day. Mangione was another one that was solid, both fixed odds and the fair, and I think that's a good indicator from that stable. The horses, that stable's going well, and you're starting to see that. We saw that big go on that maiden there at the Gold Coast during the week. That was 12s into 460 and gapped them. So the stable's going well. They're running well, but they're running to market.
For the punter at home, do you think that you can follow the Waller money across Australia or just in Queensland?
I don't know enough about outside. I'll tell you what I did do. I'll tell you what I did do is we talk about trainers' strike rate, but I don't know of another trainer in Australia that would have as many runners as Waller would per race. So I break down Chris Waller's horses' stats in Queensland by race, not by runner. We've seen it here over the carnival where he'd have 5 and 6 runners in every 2,000 metre race or above. And to say that he's striking at 10% is unfair because he's got 6 runners in one race. So I'm breaking down the statistics, and looking at the market support for those that run well. There has been a consistency there that the horses that are expected to run well by market seem to be running well here. Not sure whether that correlates elsewhere, but his winning strike rate in Queensland's a lot higher than what the actual raw stats give it credit for because of those multiple runners.
Kills, can I just touch on Humboldt Current for a second? It was actually the most traded horse in play on the weekend around Australia. 60,000 matched on Humboldt Current. The second was actually also an Eagle Farm. with 42,000 on Royal Witness. But Humboldt Current beat the stablemate for the Waller team, Stardome. Did you have any opinion of that race? Because Humboldt Current was absolutely bolting before the turn, and I'm not surprised that there was a truckload of cash just thrown at it.
Yeah, I've just got my worksheets here, thanks to puntingform.com.au, that I sent to subscribers from the meeting. We didn't set that up either, by the way. That was just excellent. Yeah, look, I'll probably slight error from probably my position here. Just I was a little bit unsure. Tempo and map suited. I actually had it sent the horse out at $4.19. It sort of traded around that sort of 420, 440 mark, and then late, got to 540 on the. Did it SP 5 something?
589, yeah.
Yeah, it's SP 589. So.
Which is a really big push, just before we continue for Betfair. If you are just a small punter and you've had $10 on it at, say, the average price of the corporates, you got $48 back. If you've had $10 on at Betfair, you've got $59 back. It's just, you put a zero on that, that's enormous.
Yeah, every time.
Utterly enormous.
Stardomes ran second in the race, and it was another horse that was solid in the market. A lot of money came for the David Van Dyke running on the fixed odds Disillusion. I think it was basically 11s into $7.
Big owner behind that, big betting owner, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's just the Van Dyke stable. We've spoken about this before. It's one of those, I think I said last week, you're striking at like 30% and winning it some ridiculous amount profit on turnover if you flat stake all these runners. So you always respect the money. That sort of half put me on the back foot a little bit. But yeah, in the run, I suppose Ocean Attic was another horse that was in the market that drifted and settled further back than what a few would have anticipated. So, it was. I suppose in the run, it did look travelling the whole way, and I could see why the money come for it. But like I said earlier, the Waller stable is going super. It's a matter of me sort of diving a little bit deeper now to look at whether it's the quality of horses being sent here because of the black type, etc., that's available, and then sort of compare that to the off-season stuff where.
It's good to know you can still trust the market with the lambing stable, though. They've always been good for that. Jamaican Rain in the last was utterly friendless. Opened sort of around the $5.50 mark at 9 a.m. and probably jumped north of 10 on the fair.
Yeah,
horse with huge ability, been scratched race day a few times, and very soft to the market and went shit house.
Wouldn't mind betting that it goes to the Glass House next week and
hemorrhages and runs a big race.
Seen it the last 2 years, we'll see it again this year probably. Yeah.
I loved it. I thought, I don't even know what that race was called or but I thought, ooh, this is a beautiful little setup job.
Yeah, look, the horse that was probably... This is a great example of looking at the market. Love You Lucy was a horse that was very soft. Certainly soft on the fair. Sort of $9-10, sort of around that mark most of the morning. I think it's SP 15 plus the fair.
Yeah.
So here's Barry Square, 80-year-old trainer that still rides work. Like, there's certainly nothing untoward going on here. He's got his horse going well. He's got it in a listed race, and was very stiff on the day. Like, take nothing.
Probably should have won.
Yeah, take nothing away from Jamie Lady, who led and raced on speed and put up the best figure. But Love You Lucy never got clear air until very late, and she's ran super. So, without putting too much of a conspiracy theorist hat on, there's certain trainers and certain stables that you take big note of firms or drifts, and there's other stables where you just take the opinion of someone's against this or map or something or some other,
Queensland was a real bit of fresh hell for Barry the Bot, which is the bot that Pete and I operate. It was on here: Panino, Love You Lucy, and Fiesta. I think all three got on. If Boris had gone just a little bit slower on Jamie Lady. Oh, and the thing on the Gold Coast. Should we talk about that quickly?
Yeah.
The thing that was north of, it was about $1.90, maybe $2. 9 a.m. Just trying to get it up. What race was it? Do you remember, Peter?
Were you talking race 3?
No, race 5, the Gold Coast. The bot doesn't discriminate with price.
Oh, Invictus Prince.
Invictus Prince. This thing was $1.90, sort of almost $2 when I loaded the thing up in the morning. Thought that'd be sweet. It's loaded into this thing $1.45. I've seen the exposure, so I've checked what it was. Holy hell, this is big. This thing, it was a 400-meter race. It was off the bid at the 800. So the caller, you could hear him in his voice. He wanted to say it can't win at the 800, but he waited till about the 500, then said it's fucked. And Jesus Christ, it hurt.
I don't like what do you say about this?
I was trying to explain this to my missus. I was like, in the morning, the market's saying this thing's a very, very good chance of winning, but when they say it's an even better chance of winning, it's just like it's going to win.
I don't know what to say. It was never winning. You put it in the right spot. I don't know what possible excuse you could come up with there. I thought $1.75 was good shopping.
Well, it was
at the time. And I thought, don't really need to be blasting, too much here. And then it was $1.70, $1.65. It just continued to shorten. Unexplainable, really. I don't know. I honestly don't know what excuse you could toss up. It was just shocking. I don't want to sort of inflict too much more mental anguish on myself, but there was horses of similar sort of profile that ran Saturday night as well that I did manage to fall into that. Produced a similar result, so it wasn't a day for the shorties where I was playing anyway in Queensland. But this one I don't know how you explain it. The stewards report revealed nothing.
Nothing.
The trainer Matthew Smith would.
What did the stewards report say?
Race below expectation, something similar to that. Trainer Matthew Smith.
I thought it was bad down here.
Trainer Matthew Smith will report back to stewards, though, I believe, with any findings of an examination.
But if he doesn't sweep, he'll nom it in 2 weeks.
Back to Sydney.
Betting.
Back to Sydney and winning a 78 at Warwick Farm or something, getting up the fence or something like that, probably. Yeah, strange one. No abnormalities. A swab was taken. Trainer will advise of any issues that come to light in the following few days.
All right, anything else we should talk about up there in Queensland, boys?
There's a little bit of action on Twitter last night about a race at the Gold Coast. I want to touch on this. I don't want to take all the time up on the deep dive, but I really want to...
No, you take as long as you want, mate. You take your time. What race are we looking at?
So we're looking at yesterday at the Sunshine Coast. We're looking at race 7. If you can, sort of bit of a question without notice here for you.
Yeah, no, I know the race.
Couldn't find the data.
Barry backed the winner.
Did he?
Yeah, he found it.
He must have had the inside info.
You're talking about Contemptuous.
Contemptuous, yeah. There was 2 horses there that were short price favourites. I think it was back-to-back races, race 6, race 7. 2 very short price favourites. I think they were the heaviest traded horses pre-jump on the fair. So this is actually, I'll touch on both races. Only that I believe that in race 6, sulking was resuming first up for the Edmund stable off a wind operation.
Oh, this fascinates. This utterly fascinates me. This thing.
Like how in 2020, horses have to be stewards need to be notified when horses are gelded and it goes into the form guide. How the effing hell is this? Is a wind operation not required to have the same information put out to punters? So this horse
because stewards and racing officials have got away with treating punters with contempt for about 50 years, and turnovers up, Curly. Record levels of turnover because there's nothing else to bet on. So they're patting themselves on the back, mate. They're happy with what's going on. So it's unbelievable.
This horse has gone around $1.80 on Top Sport. This is sulking I'm talking about in race 6.
Hemorrhaged.
Goes around at $1.80. It's $2.30 into $1.80, something like that on the fixed.
Big go.
Solid the fair at $1.90, which is fine for a horse that's SPing $1.80. A horse called King Klaus, which was coming off a sand track win at Gympie and resuming here, absolutely torched it from the get-go, put it away in the straight, and has only been run down late. And sulking's $1.80 white flag at the 250 metre mark, and has missed a place. It's ranked fifth. Now, honestly, fucking, how is that not? Like, how is that information not in the stewards report? In a form guide, right? Go to race 7. This will do me. This, I'll tell you. Talk about transparency in wagering and in racing, right? Contemptuous. What did it open up? What was it after the scratch? $1.65.
Oh, mate. Well, this thing was going to run poorly by a look at the market to me.
$1.65 at topsport.com.au at fixed odds. That was at $1.65 at 7 minutes before the jump, right?
What's it SP'd on the fair?
It's $1.80 fixed. Is it $1.90 the fair?
$1.83, but over the last 10 minutes, it's gone from $1.71. It's hit a high of about $1.90, and then SP'd at $1.83, but it was all just that way.
So it's look, it's sat outside the leader, right? And it travels proper, right? Boris gives it a tap, like a little backhander, like one of these ones.
Yeah.
To see any quicker.
Just to clicking up one gear. We don't want all the gears. Just
no.
So the tempo slightly, my boy.
He sidles up outside the leader and puts it into second, and there's but the horse. Okay, so the horse is. I don't know. Like, I'm no vet. I can't understand. I didn't see anything in the run other than Boris just look across to his left to see Jimmy Orman sailing past him on Vogue Rock, and then he just sits there, plays statues, right? Now, I'm not invested in the race at all, but it looks shit house, to say the least, right? So I'm saying, okay, Boris is no deal. There's obviously an issue with his horse. Well, let's have a look at the stewards report before we get on Twitter and start blowing up. I'll read the stewards report, right? The stewards report, and I just like, honestly, how's this work? Oh, there's 140,000 traded on this horse, and if you've got any connection to the stable at all, 139,000 of it is yours, laying it for your life. Because the stewards report says horse travelled strongly. He placed the horse under pressure, didn't respond, become concerned for the horse's action, and felt there's something amiss. Fair enough. Okay.
So no knock.
That's
Boris.
fair. No knock, Boris. That's fair. Further added that the horse made an abnormal respiratory noise, and added to that the stable has had concerns that the horse may have a breathing issue. Trainer Steve O'Day confirmed the stable had previously had concerns that the horse may have a breathing issue. Mr. O'Day was advised that he must provide stewards a vet certificate.
If it wasn't so serious, if you
honestly,
think I'm laughing and I shouldn't be laughing, when you deal with this shit every day, you just got to laugh about it. This is like faulty tower stuff.
Like, that is just, like, to me, like, I don't know, like the whole wind operation. I'm not saying this horse has had or needs a wind up. I'm not getting involved in that. But a horse that has had a wind up needs to be discussed. Now, when a horse drifts in the market and the stewards are asking for an explanation and the trainer says, yeah, we reckon it might have a wind problem, right? The punters deserve a few questions being asked and a bit of a look into, say, a Betfair record or something to put punters at ease.
The fact that you even then can mention that and say those words highlights how fucked it all is, because that is just common sense. Like,
I'm not saying that anyone's done anything wrong, all right? But in racing, it's probably in general, but particularly in Queensland, everyone is guilty until proven innocent, and everything's a raw. That's basically what Queensland is known for, and its racing is known for. So to try and clean up the image, these are the sort of things that the Queensland stewards could be doing. But race day, I'm talking about race day stewards. I'm not talking about these investigations that have made the headlines or accusations and those sorts of things. I just meant on race day stuff. It brings some confidence back. It looked visually, it was terrible to look at. Go and have a look at the replay. No knock on Boris or anything there at all. We thought there was an issue with the horse, so he sat on it. we just need to. It just needed to follow up a few questions.
Yeah, which is 100% genuine. If a jockey feels a horse isn't travelling, then they're going to slow down 100%. Because if a horse just stops, then there's a high risk of a fall for that rider, which obviously they want to avoid, and so they should. Just to top off how sickening this race is, and I didn't watch it, but the winner was $11 into sevens. So just to confirm that if I'm just looking at this race, if it's anywhere, any state, any country, this is a hot go.
I couldn't believe the money for the winner, and just led, travelled, and pissed him.
Anyway, that's Queensland. Hopefully, it can heed some of your advice there, Curls, which I agree with 100%. Pistol, any other thoughts on Queensland, boys? Anything? Or we'll move on to Flemington.
Play on.
I've had my rant. Thanks for that. My therapy session's over.
That was really good. You're welcome to stay on if you want to, as we discuss Flemington and Belmont. Quickly going to look at Randwick, though, Peter.
Yes, Randwick.
What do you want to talk about? What do you want to say here?
Oh, look, we'll just do a quick glance over the meeting. As anyone who would have watched any of the races
Rails
here at
and
Randwick.
Run, pretty good.
Rails and Run, strongly advantaged. Forward was strongly advantaged. Lanes 1 and 2 in the straight, really strongly advantaged. Anything wider than lane 5 was cast. In terms of the best figures on the day, the best figure overall was Space Boy with 11 lengths above on the puntingform.com.au all-average benchmark. The next best was Fanciful Dream in the same race of 8.2, and then you're going to High Opinion in race 4. Funnily enough, High
Opinion did all the work early. That was a proper staying test, that race. The race went 16.8 lengths above the all-average to the 600. That is like flying.
And it was also the highest betting race on the card as well, was that High Opinion race. But look, let's be honest, Randwick, heavy 9, heavy bias. If you're playing before the meeting started, good luck to you, and you probably, well, if you found any of the winners, you obviously are happy, but otherwise you got burnt. So what more needs to be said? It's Sydney during winter. It's still underwater, despite their sunny skies and rugby league.
Well, speaking of rugby league, and it might have been the heavy track, it might have been how biased it was, it might have been a number of things, but the top 5 biggest bet races in Australia on Saturday didn't feature anything from New South Wales or Randwick. They were Flemington races 1, 2, 4, 6, and then Belmont race 4 with the good horse showmanship, which we'll get to later.
Yep.
Anything stand out to you, mate, from Randwick that we want to take forward, or just too hard?
Legitimately do not care about Sydney racing, Dickens. I could not care less.
Beautiful. I am with you. Let's try and find an angle when we do the form next time, but just trying to review such a bias, heavy track is just pointless. I think that you get nothing out of it. Let's move to Flemington, where the biggest figure on the day was Sir Coney. Sir Coney's done a 14.6 above the all-average benchmark punters, which is just enormous. Sir Coney's previous peak, or the previous start, it went 1.2 above the all-average when it almost won there at Caulfield. They walked over 2,000. It was real, as Pistol Pete would say, handlebars down here from Stackhouse. He let this thing do what it does best, and that was roll along at a really fast tempo. Hats off to the Nick Ryan stable, who have had this horse for this whole preparation, but never before. And the horse has run a new career peak by an absolute mile. Its previous best was not north of 10. Might have been 12.9 at Caulfield once. This is just beast mode from this horse. Makes that Miramar race look pretty good back at Caulfield, which is that WTU Harbour Views race. I think you can follow those horses with proper confidence now. Also at Flemington, Music Bay, really big ride. Willow. I feel this is. I bet into. I sent 3 of the first 4 winners out on top if I was a tipster, but I didn't back any of them. I backed Alcyone to beat Cherry Tortini, even though I thought Cherry Tortini was the most likely. I just thought the prices, Alcyone or whatever we're calling that, was the better bet. I've watched the replay 45 times, looked at the data. I think I was right. How slow they have gone,
yeah.
And again, the incompetence of the leaders in this race has utterly blessed the winner and the second horse, both blessed. But how slow they went, and the fact that John Allen sat 3 wide, no cover for the entire race, I think Alcyone could have been more positive here and probably won. It came again on the line at him.
It's
just odd.
Looking at the splits, the horses slowed to an equal amount as the rest of the field from the 1,000 to the 800, and then from the 800 to the 600. So as you said, it's sitting 3 wide, no cover. They've slowed down, and he's still just sitting there.
I can't get over it. It obviously doesn't make any sense to a lot of people, because I keep saying this, and every time we say something too offensive or controversial, that someone will get in touch with us who does watch and listen, but they don't listen when we're talking about this. So I'm going to say it one more time. From the 1,200 to the 1,000, the leader went 12.04 seconds. Slow. From the 1,000 to the 800, they went 13 seconds. They slowed down by a whole second in 200 metres. From the 800 to the 600, the leader went 13.32. They slowed down again. So all that's doing is that it's just letting the horses behind build momentum into this race. It utterly blesses horses that have got momentum. And that's why the 2 horses in the finish were like the 3 wide line.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we were the one towing the other thing in, but I think there is grave concerns over the form out of this race. They could all well be superstars, but you just can't stamp anything off this ridiculously slow tempo. The last sort of the winner and the second horse have basically matched motors the whole way home. It's just the momentum of Billy Egan's ride versus the momentum of John Allen's ride was the difference here. I think both horses, off what they've done here, are very evenly matched. I think Toy's on fire. The fact that we backed this thing to win a Sandown and maybe a maiden last start makes me ill. It was huge here again. Outside that, the race very hard to read because they've just gone so slow. So anyway, I didn't have Lord Belvedere on top. I almost backed Al Farris. So there's some mental health saved. Just like, fuck, if I had to back that. If he just went a little bit quicker, you can have a look at, again, we'll have a little look at the sectional breakdown of race 2.
Race 2. Yeah.
The 8 to the 6 is clearly slower than the 10 to the 8. All that's doing is just slowing down while they're catching up to you in a race, in a race to a finish line. Just utterly would have been great up, but avoided mental anguish here. Was pretty confident that Sense of Honour would win, but just didn't want to get stuck into the price. Same with Persan. The Persan race, saw a bit of action on Twitter, along with a lot of pats on the back from Big Tom. Anything. They've got 11.6 below the all average to the 600 here, Pistol. If anyone thinks these horses are going to win derbies, I want to get what they're smoking, and I want to smoke a lot of it because they're having a good time. There is nothing that they've done that suggests these horses are any good. A little bit like race 3, though, you can't sort of say they're not. But it's just ludicrous to suggest that they are at this stage. The tempo is so disgustingly slow. They haven't broken the all-average benchmark.
No. The winner went 17.2 lengths slow for the class.
Yeah, I think Jai's ride here is outstanding. But if he lost, you could probably be bagging him for going too slow.
Yeah.
But if you look at the sectionals of the winner, he's just gently increased on the way home when he broke the race up, which was a really nice move. I thought it was a great ride by Jai. Just sickeningly slow, and the horses who were snicked here to the back, just God help them, the riders. And
nothing says Group 1 splits about this horse.
Yeah, well, you could see Oliver didn't want to sort of be as far forward as he was, but now it makes sense. They've gone that slow. Persan has recorded a decent figure at the previous start. So I think it's got good ability, and hence why I put this field away. But there's nothing to this race that suggests it's any good. Backed great again to win race 5. Looked like I was home. I thought we were. Lord Von Costa, I sort of pushed it on the previous show. Proper straight horse. Really let down. Big last 200. Even race. 5.9 fast to the 6 and 6.4 fast home, the all average there. So did at both ends. Proper race. Good form race. Follow. I think the performance of the day, though, might be this Cordelia in race 9.
Yeah.
Walking Flying settled 8th, and Cherry Tortini settled 8th. Outside of that, it was fairly on pace suited, and I've clarified, I hope, why I thought Cherry Tortini was blessed to do what it did from that position. What Cordelia's done is come from like 11th and sort of 4 wide line and killed him. It was heavily backed. I couldn't understand the support for the horse. It hadn't shown like that big figure.
It was just the form, I think. That last start form, was it Pakenham? I remember I briefly mentioned it. But
Spent like most of Sunday figuring out this angle of how these people found this horse. So trying to sort of learn a bit, because I didn't find this horse. And what it did was really impressive. The way the market did it, supported it, said it was going to do what it did. Big win. Proper horse. Nothing flash to the figures, but just a really strong win versus the pattern. That's probably enough for Flemington, Pete. Anything else I should mention? Do you want some horses to follow, I guess?
Yeah, not really. Only if you want to. Look, race of the day in terms of the betting fluctuations was in the first. You go back and we can have a look there. First race, it had that shorty, Sense of Honour. That's probably why there was so much cash traded on it. So that's about it.
Horse to follow, I'll put in Victoria Star. I thought Victoria Star was a really, really impressive performance.
All right, very good.
Belmont, mate. Belmont.
Yeah, look, pretty good meeting at Belmont. We saw some really big figures on the card there. Showmanship's now posted a career peak again over 1,400. It basically just
maybe just before you start, for me, and I'm sure most of the listeners, how and why does this horse just keep going around in these races at like $1.30 and just killing them? Because there's nothing else for it to do?
Yeah, it's just going through the grades, like classically going through the grades. It's on track to be contesting Group 1 races come spring, and it's hard to see anything beating it in the Railway Stakes. So the only small query would be it hasn't raced over a mile yet. It's probably just a matter of time. It will go round in the proper races come springtime in Perth, and it will be entitled to go around favourite in all of them, and it will probably win them on their ear, or on its ear. It's a proper horse, and then you'll see it next autumn or spring over in the east, and just another one of the Bob Peters brigade. They're shipping 4 horses across as we speak via truck because the planes aren't in operation. So Superstorm, Regal Power, Arcadia Queen, and it must be Perfect Jewel. They're all coming across for an attack later this year. So, you know, the Bob Peters machine, it's the best there is from a black type strike rate point of view in the country.
This time next year, Showmanship will be on the truck. You're saying it did close just through the line like it wants every bit of a further trip off a really strong early tempo. So there's just a stack of merit to the form.
Yep, exactly. Look, the other horse that actually equalled the performance of the day was Long Beach, the stablemate. The trial itself was pretty good. It just suggested potentially sometimes a stable, they need one before they really click into gear, but no, it's just returned with a huge PB. Narodio is a proper horse, so is Indian Pacific. Double Bubble on its day can post a good figure. But Long Beach, the ride from Pike was just absolutely outstanding. There was a small query, I thought, on the day with horses getting out too wide in the straight. We saw Narodio out and about lane 10 or so, picked up really well going through the line, just peaked late on the run. Long Beach has just gone so strong through the line. Pike's taken it back towards the inside ground. Sort of just peaked past the post. There was a inch perfect ride from him. Again, like it's a horse you can follow.
He just grades me out big time. with the Barry's betting big time at Belmont at the moment, and I didn't watch, but I could tell by the commentary from a couple of our team that he slaughtered the thing in race 8.
Oh, I don't think it was so much a slaughter. I just don't think it's that good. They've gone fast.
I thought you guys were saying it's just a poor ride.
No, look, I went back and had a look. You've got to wait till you get all the data through, obviously. I thought, given the way that the race was unfolding, it might have just probably been used up a little bit too early. No, I don't think it's that good, to be honest. The winners posted a figure 3.1 above. That's okay. I thought it was probably slight overs, but
his ride in race 9, that was proper goat riding.
Yeah, I mean, they were
he made that
set.
mid-race move 3 wide.
He had to. They were going,
and then you look at the data. They've gone. It's the slowest they went all day. He's the one there that counts in his head. Goes, oh, hang on, I'm going too slow here.
Yep.
It was an outstanding ride on Chantria in race 9. The figure's ugly, but when you're on a horse like he was, this horse can't go much faster than what sort of the first 4 in the run want to do.
Yep.
It dictates its overall figure. So I think there's a lot more merit to the win of Chantria than the sort of data says here in race 9 at Belmont. Any horses you'd like to follow from Belmont, Peter?
Look, there's probably a couple we can keep an eye on. I think the ride and the tactics on La Farola suggest that next start, if it draws a gate, it'll go forward and it'll probably kill a field. Dates is a part owner, so I'm sure he'll enjoy me throwing that out. But the riding's been on the wall with that horse. The first couple of starts is prep. It's in for a win very, very soon. Outside of that, it was just a meeting at Belmont, as they all tend to be. There's a few frustrating losses. I mentioned She's God to You, traded the $1.03 in the run. Luckily, we also backed Snickerdoodle Dandy and Blow Me Out, so we actually backed the trifecta. But She's God to You was the...
Snickerdoodle Dandy was probably off the canvas. That was big. I love that. I needed that at that point in the day.
Yeah, not great for the subs.
Snickerdoodle.
Stop talking about self-interest. Think of the subscribers, and think of me, who took the better early price. Just anyway, what can you do?
I'm still betting everything he says. Pistol suggests I just actually bet it myself because I'm too busy. But we also have built a device which places wages for us as well. And I'm just here. I'm never going to lie. I saw that the bot was on Snickerdoodle Dandy, and I watched the race, and it was gone, and it found. Yes. And it gave me a bit of a lift, because I just watched Sense of Honor win when I should have backed it and didn't. I almost backed Alfaris, which just graved me up when it probably should have won but didn't. And then I backed Alcyone, which should have won but didn't. And then I didn't back Persan, which pissed in. So I was a bit shaky, Peter, all right? I just needed a bit of a lift. Anyway, you got the box trifecta. You got the first 4 in that race, I think.
No, just the first 3. I only send out 3 numbers. There's no point sending out 4 when you only have to send out 3.
Fair commentary.
Almost backed Fred Dagg in the last, and then sort of left it. Thought it might just get a fraction too wide, and in the end it did, because it loomed and I think got in front and then got nailed by resistance late on the line. So yeah, it was a fun day of punting. Don't want it again though. We'll just leave it. We'll push on. There'll be better meetings, I think, coming up over the coming months, and I'm actually looking forward to getting back to Ascot, and I've still only got 3 months for that to happen. So anyway, mate, come quickly.
The fastest last 600 and 400 of the day at Belmont was in race 6. It was She's Enchanted, and the fastest last 200 metres of the entire day, this horse flew late, was in race 5. So War. How are we saying that one?
So War.
That's been the deep dive, power of puntingform.com.au and betfair.com.au. Head to the mailbag.com.au. Nick Tedeschi's NRL mail is flying, and so is Cam Dean's AFL mail. If you want to get on board, do it today, because they'll be sending bets out probably tomorrow. A couple of early bets where they're constantly beating the handicap on these early bets. It's outstanding wagering. I bloody love it. The finish of the weekend yesterday, not only to back the Giants and to get the overs, it was a big bet. I also all upped them, and then just for them to beat Hawthorn the way they did was so fucking enjoyable. Get a big dog up your Hawks then. Back in your box. The window is shut. Start the rebuild, Clarko. Stop trying to change rules. Start changing your list.
Well, there it is, punters.
Righto.